So we're here in my grade 7 classroom. I am Megan Enga and I teach 6-7 at Banting Middle School. And we have been using Quest Atlantis, which is an online immersive educational video game essentially to try and incorporate different aspects of learning in a more interesting and engaging way for students. No pressure. So the advantage that it has for us is that the kids are put into real situations. For example, right now they're doing a unit, they're just starting a unit which is taking them to Tanzania in Africa. And they're going to the Mkomazi Game Reserve in Tanzania to investigate the plight of the black rhino, which is an endangered species, but there are conflicting interests at stake. So we're looking at perspective and land use and then the global citizenship aspect of our commitment and responsibility towards endangered animals. But we are using it to support our humanities curriculum for those reasons, but so the kids have a chance to look at multiple perspectives in terms of discussing resource allocation, that governments, who should decide who gets government resources. So you've got the conflicting needs of the people who are trying to farm and use the grassland resources, the local people versus the global concern of saving the endangered species. So the kids go in and they do a bunch of tasks, and they actually have an avatar that they have created which represents themselves. So there's a lot of engagement, there's a lot of use of play theory what makes video games engaging. The University of Indiana, who's designed this program and operates it, have incorporated those aspects of gaming to try and make learning more engaging and more relevant for kids. So they have their avatar, they go to Africa, they talk to different people in the game, they can interact with each other and with students from all over the world depending on the time zone that we're on. We're either talking to kids in the States or in England or in Australia, sometimes even in Asia. So during the quest, they go and they interact and they gather information, and it's quite realistic. It's kind of like Second Life in terms of the graphics. After they've gathered information, they have to write basically a persuasive essay, taking into account both sides of the argument, both perspectives, taking into account bias and the conflicting needs, and then they have to make a recommendation. And the part that they don't know yet is that depending on the recommendation that they make, they actually get to go into the future and see the impact of the decisions they make. So the game changes, they'll revisit it 5 to 6 years later and see if they chose for the conservationists, the impact it has on the local economy, and then if they choose for the economy, the impact it has on but there's a huge educational component in that they do have to do a lot of writing and reading and editing. And then in terms of the formative assessment part of it, which is something we've been trying to incorporate in our school, it's really great because they get immediate feedback on their work, and then there's a lot of opportunity to revise, and it's not attached to grading. So because it's in the context of the game, they're making recommendations, and there's an entire premise of the game. It's a world, and there's a backstory and all those things. That when they write it, it goes to a reviewer, and the reviewer gives them feedback on what they can do to improve it. And from an educational point of view, it's much more meaningful than just doing it because the teacher told you to.